Chapter 244, Dummy Massacre Finals 1. Bang! The blaring sound of a table being pounded resounded across the room. Following this, an enraged roar echoed across the room. "This is bullsh*t. Perry stood up. "I shouldn't be responsible for our school's lackluster performances. That's not the point." Sitting next to Perry, Ebony shouted back. Her voice contained all of the frustration she held back for the past week. "I've repeatedly warned you about this at the beginning of the week, yet none of you listened to me." Turning around, Ebony pointed at the TV screen where the rankings were shown and once again raised her voice. "Now, look. We're only 50 points ahead of Theodora Academy, who should have been 200 points behind according to the initial forecast. Whose fault is it other than yours for this? Rankings, points. Locke Academy, 11,089. Theodora Academy, 11,039. Lutwick Academy, 10,785. Velen Academy, 10,467. Silverwing Academy, 9,803. Cook's Academy, 9,732. Death Sigil Academy, 9,311. Dusk of Dawn Academy, 8,953. Everlight Academy -8,824. Prided Horses Academy, 8,645. What the fuck? Rather than voicing out your complaints, let's talk about the possible solutions to this problem. Cutting Perry off before he could swear was Mark. Compared to the first meeting, his face looked a lot more serious. He was no longer treating this as a joke. He knew just how serious their current predicament was. Right? Finally, calming down a bit, Ebony stood up. Biting her lower lip, she looked at everyone that had gathered in the room. "From what I've gathered, in order for us to win, all we need is 4 first years to win their respective games, followed by 2 by the second years." Pausing, Ebony took out a tablet. Tapping on the screen on the tablet, the TV screen behind her changed. "If they somehow can achieve this, we should be able to widen the gap with Theodora Academy. If we can't achieve that, then we have no choice but to." Ebony paused. "No choice but to?" Perry asked as he too seemed to have also calmed down from the previous outburst. "Win one of the Battle Royale games." At her words, the room instantly became quiet. If there was one game that no one could guarantee first place spot, it would be the Battle Royale game. The reason was simple. There was no rule that stated that the other academies couldn't form alliances with one another. As a result of this rule, every year the Locke and the other larger academies would end up fighting at a numerical disadvantage, making it much harder for them to win first place. It was also because of this that the points awarded to the academies upon winning the game were much higher than singular games. If 2 academies were neck and neck with each other in terms of points, they'd need to be able to win the Battle Royale in order to widen the gap. That shouldn't be a problem. The first to speak up was Perry. A faint smile appeared on his lips. "Since we're already guaranteed first place in our Battle Royale, we don't really have to worry too much about it." "That's easier said than done," Ebony replied as she put her tablet down. From the way that she didn't deny Perry's statement, it seemed as though she agreed with him about the fact that the third year will win their Battle Royale. Even so, she didn't seem to be completely confident about this. "Is it?" "I don't think so. It isn't right if the third years are the ones that carry the whole school up. The first and second years need to hold their weight." This time it was Mark who started speaking. Turning around, Mark looked at all of the people that had gathered in the room. "Listen up, you lot. You've heard what she said. Make sure you don't disappoint during the Battle Royale games. A threatening aura started exuding from his body. I hope we don't go down in history as the worst team to have ever appeared in the lock. In response to Mark's glare, everyone in the room sheepishly nodded their head. I also followed their example and nodded my head. Not that I actually cared about what they were saying. My mind was preoccupied with other matters at the moment. More specifically, regarding the monolith situation. After calling Kevin last night, I decided to meet up with him in his room to discuss more on the matter. Although I had the book with me, I honestly preferred to just ask Kevin. It wasn't because I was too lazy or anything like that, it was just that the book was far too long for me at the moment. With it recounting everything that happened to Kevin, the book was filled with endless amounts of gibberish that I couldn't care less about. Kevin turned on the valve of his shower and washed his body with the new soap that he had bought yesterday at the convenience store. Now why would I want to read this? Although the book somehow remained the same size, the number of pages it had was scary. It probably numbered in the thousands by now. Most of it was filled with useless stuff like that. This was why I just chose to directly ask him about what he knew. Fortunately, living under the same roof had its perks. Within a minute I had already arrived at his room. After that, I entered his room and started spouting non-stop bullshit about how I had this vision that I couldn't quite make out about the monolith and blah, 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 blah. In short, I managed to get Kevin to spill everything. Perhaps because he trusted me a lot, or just because he was still immature due to his young age, after a bit of thought Kevin told me everything that he knew regarding the monolith. Though there was no concrete evidence, it was enough to convince me that something was definitely going to happen. This talk pretty much confirmed that my worries weren't for naught. The monolith was indeed planning something big. And to make matters worse, that thing was going to without a doubt implicate me. That was because from what I had gathered from Kevin, they were planning on doing something big during the Battle Royale event next week. This information is good enough for now. Though I wasn't yet sure about what they were planning, this was a good starting point. I at least knew that I had some time to work with. It was enough time for me to figure something out. All right, thank you all for coming. You are all dismissed. While I was preoccupied with my thoughts, Ebony's voice suddenly resounded across the room. Everyone in the room stood up. I too subconsciously followed the others' example. 30 minutes had passed since the beginning of the meeting, and after coming up with a rough plan, Ebony satisfyingly stood up and dismissed everyone from the meeting. It's settled then. If we fail to win to get enough points in the individual matches, we will bet everything on the Battle Royale. I hope everyone tries their best till then. I will not let the technical staff brief some individuals on their upcoming games. Good luck. Grabbing her tablet, Ebony left the waiting room. Not long after, Mark and Perry also left. Behind them were their usual rows of lackeys. Ren, come here. Just when I was also about to also leave, Melissa called out for me as she sat on a chair in the corner of the room. Melissa? What do you need? I replied without moving from my spot. I said come here, I need to talk to you about your game that is coming up soon. Honestly, I'd rather stay as far away from you as possible. I shook my head. Recalling my previous experiences with Melissa, I wanted nothing more than to be as far away from her as possible. Oh my, am I that scary? Covering her mouth with her hand, Melissa smiled. Yes, I replied. Yes, you are. To make sure that she didn't misunderstand, I repeated this twice. Tisk, grow a pair for God's sake. I'm not doing this because I want to. Clicking her tongue, Melissa was starting to get annoyed. Although Melissa was enlisted as a contestant for the tournament, she wasn't actually participating in any game. As Ebony had stated before, there was a technical team. The technical team's role was to analyze the students' performances as well as the competitors and come up with a good plan for them. In this case, Melissa was talking to me because she was part of the technical team. In all likelihood, she wanted to talk to me about my upcoming game. Are you coming or not? All right, I'll stop joking. What do you need? Knowing when to push and when to back down, I gave in and moved to where Melissa was. Here. Nonchalantly handing me her tablet, Melissa pointed towards a certain section of the screen. What is this? I curiously asked. This is the time that you need to beat in order to secure first place in the Dummy Massacre games. And what gives you the confidence that this is the time? Taking the tablet, I solemnly looked at the information displayed on it. By the side, Melissa started explaining. After analyzing Erin's game for the past 6 matches she had, I've made a rough estimate of her final score. Taking into account the worst-case scenario, I've shaven off 10 seconds off of her estimated overall score and as a result, come up with this value over here. Looking at the time Melissa was referring to, I softly muttered. 1 minute and 28 seconds? Indeed. Melissa nodded her head and continued. If we cross-reference the data from each game, this should be the target score that you should be aiming for when entering the finals. If you can beat this score, there is a high possibility of you getting first place. Pausing, I felt Melissa's stare directed in my direction. With a soft voice, she asked. Can you do it? Maybe. Scratching the side of my neck, I responded. If I went all out, then there was a possibility of me beating this score, but I wasn't sure. Although I had some confidence in beating the score, I wasn't arrogant to the point that I would think that my victory was guaranteed. Unless I actually won, it was always best to remain a little bit humble. Well, I don't care if you can't do it or can do it. I'm just doing my job. Snatching the tablet off of my hand, Melissa put her hands in her pocket and left. From the looks of it, she didn't want to stay any longer. Prickly as always. Do think about my previous advice about drinking hot water. I of course wasn't going to let her go like that. I needed to have the last word. What? Melissa's footsteps halted. Turning around, a sweet smile appeared on her face. Right, then how about you try the new potion that I've made? The one that comes with the label from WV Pharmaceuticals? I made a meaningful smile. The last time Melissa made a potion for me, it wasn't even made from her. Just something she got off the market as a replacement. No, the one that I personally poured all of my love into. Trust me. You're going to enjoy it. Ha! I'll have to refuse you for now. Maybe next time. Tisk, pussy. Melissa clicked her tongue as she insulted. See you around. Pretending to not have heard Melissa's last comment, I directly left the waiting room. I needed to prepare myself for the upcoming finals. After separating from Rin in the waiting room, Melissa decided to head back to her dorm. Walking back to her dorm, Melissa's footsteps paused. She then smacked her forehead. Right, I forgot to tell Rin that the difficulty of the round was going to be made even harder than before. Because of Rin and Erin's recent performances, the instructors decided to increase the difficulty a little bit to make it more entertaining. This was one of the things that she was supposed to tell Rin when consulting with him just now. Of course, this didn't just apply to Ren's game alone. Some of the other games' difficulties were also increased by a fair amount. Oh well, doesn't really matter. After contemplating for a bit, Melissa shrugged her shoulders. Won't really make a difference. Even if he wasn't told about this news, Rin aiming for a similar time to what she had shown to him before would without a doubt serve as a good motivational factor to perform better. Well. In reality, Melissa just wanted to see the dumb look that Rin would make once he realized his time was much slower than he had been aiming for. Now that was something that she would love to watch. Just the thought made her chuckle. Hoo, can't wait to see your performance. Melissa's mood brightened. 2 days eventually passed and it was finally the day of the Dummy Massacre Finals. The arena grounds were filled to the brim with spectators, and everywhere around the world, millions of people were tuned in to watch the upcoming finals. Hua! Standing in the middle of the arena with my black lock uniform, I could hear the thunderous cheers coming from the spectators above. It was deafening. I didn't dislike it though. It sort of reinvigorated me. Pumped me up with energy. Of course, I didn't show this on my face as I tried my best to suppress all of my emotions and remain level-headed. Standing next to me, Erin basked on the cheers as she coolly flicked her platinum hair to the side. Staring at Erin, I could feel an air of absolute confidence emanating from her body. It was as though she was saying, "I'm definitely going to win this." To that, I smiled. "Contestants, please make your way into the rooms." The announcer's voice echoed across the speakers set up around the arena grounds. The cheers grew even louder. Hua! 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 Rumble! Rumble! Slowly the large metal doors that led to the matchroom opened up, revealing nothing but darkness. Turning her head in my direction, Erin said, "I wish you the best of luck." "You too." With a slight smile on my face, I replied back. I then took a deep breath. Hoo. After a couple of seconds, alongside Erin, I calmly walked into the match room. Pa. Just like before, as soon as I entered the room, the lights of the room lit up. Surrounding me from all sides were what seemed to be 100 dummies. These are a lot more than I had expected. Calmly staring at the dummies before me, I scratched the side of the neck. Compared to what I had originally envisioned, there were a lot more dummies than I had originally anticipated. So I'm supposed to beat the score of 1 minute and 28 seconds? This looked almost impossible for me at the moment. Getting rid of 100 dummies within that limited amount of time? That sounded like an incredibly hard thing to do considering my current abilities. But I wasn't someone that easily gave up like that. Crack. 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 Cracking my fingers, I took a light stance. Closing my eyes slightly, I softly muttered, "Monarch's Indifference." Chapter 245, Dummy Massacre Finals, 2. My goal is 1 minute and 28 seconds. Setting a goal in his mind, Rin watched as the world around him lost color and his emotions disappeared alongside it. Fear, nervousness, confidence, any and all emotions just disappeared. In his mind, there was only one goal. Reach 1 minute and 28 seconds. Regardless of the costs. Beep. Following the beeping sound, Rin closed his eyes. Ta. Fiddling with a small ring on his finger, Rin calmly stood rooted in his spot. Within seconds the dummies were already upon him. Lifting his head slightly, Rin opened his eyes and placed his hand on the sheath of his sword. A second passed and over 30 dummies appeared within inches of his body. Shwa! 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 The sound of the air splitting reverberated across the space as each dummy swung their dulled weapon in Ren's direction. To those that were spectating, it looked as though Ren had just given up. Upgrade to Office 2024, get now, AD. PSSBS. Upgrade to Office 2024, get now. See what personalized content we have based on your browsing history AD. Discovery feed. See what personalized content we have based on your browsing history. Even as all of the dummies were attacking him at the same time, Ren stood still. Some of the spectators couldn't watch anymore and turned their eyes away. Although they knew that the contestants were going to be safe, just the visual impact of Ren getting attacked from all sides caused them to turn their heads away. Move. What are you doing? Jia! Screams echoed across the stands as some spectators stood up and shouted at the large monitor above. The screams intensified even more once everyone could no longer see Ren's figure displayed on the screen. All they could see at the moment were a pile of dummies on the same spot he was standing before. It's over, everyone thought. It was then that something shocking happened. Click! Following a subtle clicking sound, the volume of the arena grounds decreased. The spectators who were watching Ren's match couldn't find any words to say as their mouths hung wide open. Some even started stuttering as they pointed at the monitor above. What just happened? How is this possible? My God! Murmurs and discussions echoed across the arena grounds as everyone stared at the large monitor above. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Standing in the middle of the room was Ren's apathetic figure. His calm and indifferent eyes were displayed for the whole world to see. From his demeanor, it looked as though this was nothing to him. Most shockingly, around him, over half of the dummies present in the room had turned red as they formed a small circle around him. This scene was deeply etched in the spectators' eyes as they all stood up and cheered. Hua! 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 The spectators' blood was boiling. How could it not? Watching as Ren single-handedly dispatched over half of the dummies in a single move caused almost everyone to be shocked. Furthermore, no one knew how he did it as the cameras were blocked by the dummies. The battle was still not over though. Ren had only gotten rid of half of the dummies. Everyone also noticed this as they quickly stopped cheering and kept their eyes glued on the large screen. They didn't want to miss a single second of what was about to come. And they were glad they didn't. Without even letting Ren take a breather, the remaining dummies attacked him from all sides. Click! 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 Subtle clicking sound resounded across the arena grounds as more and more dummies fell on the ground. No one could see Ren's movements, but his cold and indifferent image was deeply imprinted in their minds. He looked like an awe-inspiring general that reaped through the lives of all of the enemies that got in his path. Every second a dummy turned red. Such a shocking scene repeated over and over again as the dummies around Ren turned red without him even moving. It was breathtaking. Unfortunately, even though Ren had taken down half of the dummies, there were still a lot of dummies left that relentlessly attacked him from all sides. Most of the time there would be rings around Ren to block their attacks, but sometimes an attack would make it past his defense and hit him directly. At first, they thought it was because Ren's defense wasn't that great. But it was then that people began to realize. Ren was doing it on purpose. He was purposely using his body to absorb the impact coming from some of the attacks so that he could make a quick counterattack. He was sacrificing his body to reduce the time. Everyone who witnessed this couldn't help but feel their hair stand. Just how could anyone put their body under so much torture? Was it worth it? Everyone wanted to know. As the seconds passed, it became plain to see for everyone present that Ren's physical state was worsening by the second as his left hand drooped a bit. It was either broken or dislocated. Yet, Ren didn't seem to care. He remained completely unfazed throughout the whole time. Dodge, get hit, kill. He repeated this over and over again. The audience was breathless. They couldn't remove their eyes off of the screen. They watched the fight as though they were entranced. Beep! Startling everyone out of their stupor was the sonorous beep coming from the speaker of the arenas marking the end of the game. Staring at Ren's figure who was indifferently looking at the last dummy on the floor, the crowd went into a frenzy. Hua! 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 Thunderous cheers resounded across the arena grounds. Contestant, Ren Dover, time? 1:31 seconds. On this day, Ren's name was deeply imprinted into every spectator's mind. right after the dummy massacre finals ended. Inside of a narrow and secluded corridor. Cough, cough, this is why I don't use this skill often. Leaning against the side of a wall, I repeatedly coughed as I felt my lungs burning. They felt like they were on fire. Trying my best to move forward, I could barely keep my eyes focused as everything around me looked wobbly. Like a drunken person, I roamed around the corridor of the arena grounds. Although I tried my best to look fine after I finished my game, once I arrived at a secluded space, away from everyone's eyes, I started coughing uncontrollably. Damn it, I overdid it. As I was under the influence of Monarch's indifference throughout the whole game, I was unable to properly control what I was doing. My body moved on its own to achieve the goal that I had set in my mind beforehand. Beating 1 minute and 28 seconds. Unfortunately, I had completely overlooked the fact that under Monarch's indifference, I wasn't the same person. Apart from achieving my goal, I cared nothing about anything else. Even if it resulted in me getting severely injured. I could still vividly remember feeling my body getting battered all over by the dummies as I stood motionless waiting for them to completely surround me before using the second movement of the keiki style. In one swift movement, I managed to get rid of about half of the dummies. It was the most appropriate move given the time frame I had. But it was also what resulted in me sustaining serious internal injuries. Although the lock had set up a system where it would stop a game once the contestant was too severely injured, from how I was still not kicked out, my injuries were not enough to stop the game. This most likely stemmed from the fact that I only sacrificed the areas that were less important. But, as my body continued to aim for the goal, my internal injuries worsened. Throughout the whole game, I felt immeasurable amounts of pain being transmitted all over my body. Yet my body completely ignored it. As if the pain was only the fruit of my imagination, my body ignored everything and aimed to kill the dummies in the fastest and most efficient way possible. Regardless of how much damage I was receiving. In the end, after everything was over, my overall time ended up being 1 minute and 31 seconds. 3 seconds slower than my target score. Back then I thought that I had failed, but once I got out and felt countless stares coming from the spectators, I knew that something was wrong. As I turned around and saw Aaron's score, 1 minute and 48 seconds, reality finally struck me. The information that I had gotten from Melissa was wrong. Without a doubt, the difficulty was much higher than it was supposed to be. Damn you, Melissa, PFFFFTT. Abruptly stopping myself from speaking, I felt something sweet going up my throat. Not long after, blood spurted out from my mouth. Shh. *T. Staring at blood-stained hands, I cursed underneath my breath. My vision soon darkened and I slowly lost consciousness. Thud. I'm sorry, brother. On the other hand, Erin returned to her academy's waiting room. Standing before her brother, Erin's head hung low. I really thought that I could win. She muttered as her voice shook. Prior to entering the match, she was confident that she could win the match. She really did think so. Especially once she saw her score of 1 minute and 48 seconds. It was the best score she could have possibly have gotten. Yet, her hopes were completely crushed once she found out that her opponent's time was even faster than hers. And not even by a close margin. A whopping 17 seconds faster than her. This completely crushed her spirit. It's okay. I'm not mad. Patting Erin on the head, Nicholas comforted her. Your opponent was just as skillful as you. You're both the same rank and from the looks of it, his sword art specializes in speed. Furthermore, he also had a mysterious skill that I presume specializes in targeting multiple opponents at once. This outcome was to be expected. Moreover, Nicholas's eyes squinted as he turned his head towards a nearby TV. Displayed on it were the highlights of Erin's and Ren's games. Erin. Yes. Erin replied as she lifted her head slightly. You may not know this, but your opponent put his body on the line during the game. What do you mean? Erin tilted her head to the side. Nicholas pointed at the TV screen displaying Ren's highlights and explained. If you watch the replay of the match, compared to you where you directly avoided and dodged all of the dummies and counterattacked, Ren chose a more reckless approach. More reckless approach? There was a hint of confusion in Erin's voice as she wondered what her brother meant. Yes, he chose to not avoid the dummies' attacks and directly used his body as a shield. Take a look at the TV. Under her brother's instructions, Erin turned her head and directed her attention towards a nearby TV. She then watched as Ren recklessly used his body to defend some of the attacks coming from the dummies. By her side, Nicholas continued explaining. By sacrificing his body, he was essentially saving precious seconds that you used on dodging some of the attacks. Though it could have gone wrong as he could have been eliminated for getting too injured, if done well, this strategy would have without a doubt have been the most optimal for getting a high score in the dummy massacred games. Nicholas paused for a second before praising. His willingness to give it everything he's got for victory explains the huge gap between you two. Your loss was without merit. I see. A solemn look appeared on Erin's face as she looked at the highlights displayed on the TV. Brother's right. Because of how frustrated she was at her loss, Erin did not have time to see Ren's performance. Watching it now, Erin finally understood why she lost. It was because she put it her all like Ren had done. Watching the highlights now, Erin found a whole new level of respect for her opponent. If he was willing to go that far to win the game, then she could only accept her loss. Standing next to Erin, Nicholas satisfyingly nodded his head as he comforted. Don't worry. You were up against someone crazy. Someone that would even risk getting injured severely to win. You didn't lose without merit. Let's redeem ourselves in the Battle Royale games. Understood. Erin replied as her mood improved a bit. That's right, nothing's lost yet. Just because she lost this game didn't mean that everything was over. There were still the Battle Royale games. I'll definitely redeem myself there. She swore to herself as her fists clenched tightly. Good. Let's show them what we are really made of when we are working together. Nicholas smiled as he looked at Erin, who seemed to have regained some of her previous confidence. Many people may have forgotten because of Erin's amazing performances, but Erin was not at her best when she was by herself. No. Erin was only at her best when she was working with her brother. Nicholas. Together, no one could stop them. Ah! A short groan left my mouth. My body ached everywhere. A pungent smell of alcohol invaded my nostril as my eyelids slowly opened up. GHH, what the hell happened? Massaging the right side of my head, I felt a massive headache. My memories at the moment were faint. I could barely remember anything that happened moments prior to me waking up here. The only thing I remembered was leaving the arena grounds before everything suddenly turned dark and found myself waking up with my body aching all over. You're awake. Startling me out of my thoughts was a crisp and captivating voice. Turning my head slightly, I found Amanda sitting on a chair next to me peeling an apple. Amanda? What's she doing here? I wondered as I took a proper look at my surroundings. Decorated in white, I realized that I was in what seemed to be a hospital room as I found an electrical vital sign monitor next to the bed I was on. Beep. 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 The constant repetitive beeping sound was a testament that I wasn't still dreaming. What are you doing here, and where am I? I curiously asked. You're at the Academy nursing area. Amanda calmly responded as she took a bite of the apple she peeled. Kevin was supposed to be here, but he's currently participating in the finals of his game, so he left me to watch over you. I see. Muttering softly, I looked at the ceiling above me. My memories were starting to return to me. More specifically, the memories of me recklessly sacrificing my body under Monarch's indifference. I really fucked up this time. From the top all the way to the bottom. I could barely even feel my body. Everything ached so badly. It was as though I had just been rammed by a car going at 80 kilometers per hour. I felt like crap. You know, everyone was worried about you once they found out that you passed out in the middle of the corridor. Putting the knife that she used to cut the apple down, Amanda disrupted my thoughts as she icily glared in my direction. 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, 1 dislocated shoulder, and a concussion. Those are the injuries you sustained whilst you participating in that game. Her every word sent shivers down my spine. The more she spoke, the more I could feel the anger and frustration she had towards me. What were you thinking? Don't you have a sister that is watching you at home? What would she think if she saw your state on TV? She then paused. Why are you willing to go so far for a game? I don't know. I responded after a short pause. Because I didn't want to let the other know about my skills, it was the only way I could respond. You don't know? Amanda's voice became even colder. So you reduced your body to this state because of a whim? I was at a loss for words. Honestly, had Melissa not screwed me over, I would have never have found myself in such a situation. Although I would have still have used Monarch's indifference, I probably would have sustained fewer injuries. With each passing second that I was getting close to the score that Melissa told me, I started becoming bolder and bolder. No. Bolder wasn't the right term. Desperate. With every second that I was inching closer to the goal that I had set in my mind, my body started to become more and more reckless. The closer I was to the goal, the more desperate I was starting to get. Even if it resulted in my body getting severely injured. All my mind thought at that moment was 1 minute and 28 seconds. Nothing else mattered. And it was because of that mindset that my body got so injured that not long after the games ended, I directly passed out on the ground. Listen, I'm sore. Please don't do this again, promise? Right as I was about to apologize, I abruptly stopped. That was because I suddenly heard Amanda faintly whispering something. At her last words, Amanda's voice choked up a little. It was very faint, but from where I was laying down I could hear it. I was instantly at a loss. My throat dried up a little as I couldn't find the right words to say. Why would she go as far as choking up a little over my injuries? I really didn't understand. Was it because of all of the stress she was facing recently regarding her father's disappearance? Or was it because she was genuinely worried about me? I didn't know for sure, but even so. Lifting my pinky, I smiled slightly. All right, I promise. Unless the situation called for it, I would never act recklessly like today. Not just for me, but for those that cared for me. MHM. Similarly lifting her pinky, Amanda hooked her pinky around mine and shook it. Don't go back on your words. Amanda softly whispered as she let go of my pinky. I'll try my best. After that, silence enveloped the room. But neither one of us minded this as I closed my eyes and recuperated from my injuries. Besides me, I could hear the sound of Amanda chewing on an apple. It was oddly peaceful. Chapter 246, Preparations 1. Leviathan Building, Lock. You feeling better? With his legs crossed, Kevin sat next to me as he scrolled through his tablet. Displayed on it were the highlights of the different games of the tournament. I feel like crap. A light groan escaped from my lips. My body was still extremely battered from yesterday's incident, and even though the medical facility was very advanced, it would still take a while for me to completely heal up. You'll be fine soon. That aside, I was honestly quite shocked by your performance. Didn't think you would go all out like that. Me too. At Kevin's statement, a fake laugh escaped from my lips. Had it not been for Monarch's indifference, I would have never done something like that. Fortunately, your injuries aren't too bad. Within a week you should be all healed up. Yup, so you really don't need to worry too much. Kevin suddenly laughed out loud. Hear this, watching your performance, Emma was so shocked that she didn't speak for a whole 10 minutes. Do you understand how much of an accomplishment this is? That does indeed sound really impressive. Listening to Kevin, a small chuckle escaped from my lips. Emma talked all of the time. For her to not have been talking for 10 minutes straight was an accomplishment in itself. Right? Kevin chuckled alongside me. I was just as surprised as you. It is what it is. By the way, when's the battle royale? Recalling something, I switched the topic. In about a week's time. So you should be able to recover by then. You could have recovered faster if you just took a potion. Kevin pointed out as his eyes glossed over the bandages covering my body. The doctor said that it's better if I don't consume too many potions, and recover naturally. To Kevin's suggestion, I merely shrugged my shoulders. If too many potions were consumed, the body would start to become accustomed to them and their effects would dilute over time. As such, it was just better to recuperate naturally. Oh right. So you found anything else about the monolith's plan? I suddenly asked. This was the main reason I had asked Kevin to come to my room. To talk about this topic, as it was extremely important. Turning his head left and right to make sure that no one was present, Kevin lowered his voice and responded. I've found out a couple of things. Spill it. Here? It's fine, this place is pretty secure. We were currently in my dorm, so no one else could overhear our conversation. Kevin turning his head left and right to check if anyone was present looked pretty stupid from my position. Although the lock wouldn't go as far as spying on the conversation of their students, on the first day I moved here I checked to see if there were any listening devices installed in the room. There weren't, so it was pretty safe. Alright, they are planning on attacking whilst the game is happening. I've figured that much. Anything else? Kevin nodded his head as he elaborated, there apparently are a couple of ranked villains amongst the people they are sending. Their goal is to kill as many first years as possible on national television to ruin the lock's reputation as much as possible. To go that far. My brows furrowed tightly. If the monolith went as far as to employ multiple ranked individuals to make this work, it just went to show how much importance they put on this matter. This was definitely going to be extremely troublesome. Are you confident in the source of your information? Yes, I'm very confident. I see. Placing my hand on my chin, I mused. Given that this information was most likely something he got from the system, I didn't need to worry about it being false. The monolith was definitely planning on killing as many first years as possible during the Battle Royale event. Have you got anything else? Turning my attention back to Kevin, I asked. No. That's it for now. Kevin shook his head. All I know is when they are going to attack, but I don't know where. So it's that type of quest. At Kevin's reply, I had a sudden realization. There were many different types of quests that the system would assign to a user. There were ones that would give him a specific task that he would need to complete before getting awarded, and there was one that would ask him to stop a certain event. This was most likely the latter, as he may have gotten something that said, "Save as many people as possible during the incident that will happen in XXX at XX time." If it was that type of quest, then Kevin really did only know that much. Let's think this logically, Kevin. If you were a villain and you were trying to infiltrate the event, what would you do? Kevin thought for a bit before responding. I'd first disguise myself as one of the staff and then set up different portal links inside of the facility where the battle royale is being held. I agree. At his evaluation, I nodded my head. This was the most plausible option. The battle royale is at the dome, right? I asked, to which Kevin nodded his head. Correct. That's problematic. Right, I'm also stumped on this matter. Kevin scratched the back of his neck as his brows furrowed. Although the dome was only recently built by the lock for the tournament, its security was extremely tight. Regardless of how much Kevin and I wanted to infiltrate the place, it was practically impossible. At least not with our current abilities. Kevin, how are we going to enter the facility and check where the portals are being set up? Do you have anything in mind? Actually, don't we have to infiltrate the place? Kevin replied after a brief pause. My eyes lit up at his response. Oh. You've got something? Something like that. Realistically speaking, infiltrating the place is almost impossible. At least not with our current abilities. Right?
Yeah.
My eyes squinted slightly. Right. So why don't we instead spend our time finding out who the people undercover are? That way, we don't have to enter the building at all. That's easier said than done. How are we going to identify who comes from the monolith? I rebutted. Don't worry, I've got it covered. Kevin laughed bashfully but didn't elaborate. Fine. For a short period of time, I didn't respond as I looked at Kevin suspiciously. This was merely acting on my part, as I knew exactly what Kevin was planning on doing. Without a doubt, it had something to do with his system. Let's meet up in a couple of days when you're all healed up. During that time I'll scout the area for a bit. Kevin got up. That sounds good. All right. It's settled. I'll message you in a couple of days. Picking up his phone from the table, Kevin waved his hand and made his way towards the door. MHM.
See ya.
Because of my injuries, I couldn't see him off, but he didn't seem to mind this. Closing the door behind him, Kevin left my apartment. Clank. Trying. 2 days later. My phone repeatedly rang throughout the whole day as the screen of my phone got clogged up by an endless amount of notifications. It got so bad that I had to turn off my notifications for most of my apps. Only then did my phone once again become usable. Theodora Academy wins the Battle Royale against the third years of the Lock, securing the first place spot in the tournament. Will the Lock undefeated streak finally break? So it really happened. Reading the news article on my phone, an extended sigh escaped from my mouth. Because of my lack of interest in the third year's game, I only found out now about their loss. I guess this part of the novel didn't change. This event was inevitable. The lack of cooperation between the three heads was something that anyone could have seen. The result of the Battle Royale was a clear indication of this. Ding, dong. Disrupting me from my thoughts was the sudden sound of my doorbell ringing. Who could it be? Confused, I made my way to the entrance of the room and opened the door. A package? Who is it from? Sitting right in front of my door was a small box. There was no tag on it, so I wasn't aware of who gave it to me. This looks really suspicious. Squatting down, I lightly poked the box. Although I knew it was safe because all boxes that came through the Leviathan building were checked beforehand, I was still slightly apprehensive. After all, I didn't know who gave me the box. Oh well. Looking left and right of the corridor, curiosity got the best of me, and I eventually took the box and brought it to my room. Taking a pair of scissors, I carefully opened it. Ah! A small sound escaped from my mouth. In the middle of the box was a colorless potion, and a sudden realization dawned on me. How kind of her. Looking towards the right side of my room, where Melissa's room was, my lips curled up slightly. Everything started to make sense to me. There could only be one person that would give me a potion, and added with the fact that there was no tag on the box, it was without a doubt Melissa who had given me the box. There's a letter too. Taking the potion, I soon spotted a white envelope placed beneath it. Opening the letter and reading the message, my lips slightly twitched. You're fucking crazy. Right? What did I expect? Throwing the letter to the side, I looked at the potion in my hand. I guess Melissa did feel guilty about the false information she had given me. But in hindsight, she really didn't do anything bad. I mean, never would she have expected me to sacrifice my body like that to get a high score. She probably would have never expected me to act that crazy. Me neither, to be honest. This looks like an advanced healing potion? Turning the potion around and inspecting it carefully, I realized what it was. Although there was no label on it, having taken the potion a couple of times already, I was able to instantly identify it. An advanced healing potion. Something that was worth around 40 million U. I'll keep it for now. I'll use it later. Since I had no games for at least a week, I may as well just save it for now. I had a faint feeling that I would definitely be needing this for the future. Moonlight shone through the glass of a small window, illuminating a specific area within a dark room. In the middle of the room sat an imposing existence. Lord. A voice rang out in the empty space. The call awoke the existence that was sitting in the middle of the room. There's important information I would like to brief you upon. The existence slowly opened its eyes. The revealed pupils glistened like jewels as a scarlet-red bloodlust faintly emanated from them. Speak. The existence replied briefly. An emotionless voice echoed across the empty room. We've already started making preparations. More than half of our spies have already been caught, but we somehow have managed to get 2 people to successfully infiltrate the premise where the battle royale will be held. 2? Yes. Although we've sent over 100 spies, most of them have been caught by the lock. Their security is far too tight. We've only managed to get 2 in due to the aid of 2 ranked villains. Understood. What should we do next? The existence did not reply immediately. Slowly he stood up. Meanwhile, a full moon slowly revealed itself from behind the clouds. The moonlight entering the window brightened as it softly enveloped the existent's body. The darkness that cloaked the room became fainter. We proceed as we originally planned. Underneath the moonlight, the figure's features slowly became more discernible. With long cascading black hair and jade-like skin, was a topless male figure whose looks could only be described as outrageously handsome. If someone were to stand before him, they would assume he was an immortal that had descended upon the world. Taking a couple of steps forward, a robe magically appeared on the male's figure. We can't let our plans fail. Especially not after our failure a couple of months back during the banquet. Any mishaps cannot be allowed to happen. His emotionless voice drifted around the room. Why yes. The voice on the other side stuttered. Despite communicating from such a distance, hearing the existence's voice sent chills down his spine. Anything else? Dully said the male figure as his hands interlocked behind his back. I have another thing to report. Proceed. The figure's eyes shone slightly as he emotionlessly replied. Someone has been snooping around lately. Snooping? Yes. We've found a student repeatedly making their way towards the dome. His visits appear to be too irregular. Don't do anything, replied the figure as he stood beneath the large window and stared at the full moon in the sky. If we act right now, there's a possibility of our spies getting exposed. So what do you suggest we do if the person finds something? If such a situation happens, get rid of them. As you wish, Lord. Anything else? No. You may leave. Yes, my lord. Hoo. Basking underneath the moonlight, the figure slowly closed his eyes. Silence once again descended in the room as only the sound of the figure's breathing resounded across the room. Chapter 247, Preparations, 2. Under the faint moonlight, Kevin sat down on a bench inside of the Leviathan building. You've got anything? A voice entered his ears. It belonged to Ren. Yes. I do. Kevin replied after a short pause. I've found out who the targets are, but there is a slight problem. What is it? They're both a rank and are not villains. Frontal confrontation is a no-go. A short pause ensued before Ren replied. That's troublesome. Have you got their names and info? Yes. Kevin massaged his forehead. Unfortunately, they are both individuals who have worked in the lock for more than 5 years and are considered trusted individuals by the Academy. After discovering the identity of the two individuals who were working under the monolith, Kevin spent a lot of time trying to figure out their background. They were clean. So clean that he was left helpless. Then this is really problematic. Ren replied as his voice deepened. I know, but don't worry. Although we can't expose them now, I've found something else. What is it? I found out the location of the portals they are planning on setting up. After spying on the two individuals who were working under the monolith for the past couple of days, Kevin was able to find a general pattern in their movement. From there, he was able to come up with an estimate of where they would set up the portals. Oh. Ren's voice jumped up a little. He seemed quite hopeful. Unfortunately, shaking his head, Kevin poured cold water over him. Regrettably, we'll only be able to access them once the game starts. Why is that? Because they're inside of the dome.
Ah.
Ren let out a strange sound. Kevin smiled as a result. I know. Given how secure the place was, it was almost impossible for him and Ren to infiltrate the place. Furthermore, because there was nothing concrete yet, Kevin could not go to the professors and tell them about it. He'd just look crazy. The portals were not set up yet, thus no evidence about what the monolith was planning, and the personnel used were people with clean backgrounds. The monolith had planned this well. They did not use villains but individuals who had been working with the lock for a very long time and were trusted. Unless he presented evidence, he'd look crazy. So what now? Ren asked in a troubled voice. That's it for now. Kevin shook his head. I'll keep you updated if anything happens. In all likelihood, we're going to have to try to stop the portals from opening during the battle royale. Kevin stood up. I believe that they are also not the only accomplices, as in all likelihood, some of the students participating in the battle royale will be participating in their plans. Although he knew the approximate location of where the portal was going to be, he couldn't do anything else. The only thing he could do now was wait for the battle royale to start. Once he did, he cooperate with Ren to destroy the portals. I see, okay. Ren replied after a short pause. All right, I'm hanging up. I'll keep you updated if anything happens. Sure. Do hanging up, Kevin put his phone away. Although he had just talked with Ren about sensitive information with his phone, Kevin wasn't worried about others finding out the contents of their discussion. That was because the phone he and Ren were using could not be monitored. I guess it's about time I head back. Shaw. Right as Kevin was about to leave for his dorm, his feet abruptly stopped. That was because Kevin suddenly heard the sound of something cutting the air. He could even hear a small, muffled shout that came alongside each slash. The sound was coming from the Leviathan Building public training grounds. Curious, he headed over, whereupon he saw a short-haired girl swinging two small broadswords. It was Emma. Right as he was about to call out for her, Kevin stopped himself. A trace of a smile appeared on his face as he thought of something. Sneaking up from behind her, he shouted. Boo! Hyak! Frightened, Emma turned around and swung one of her broadswords in Kevin's direction. Wow! Taking a step back, Kevin narrowly avoided the sword. Sweat trickled down his forehead as he raised his hands in defeat. Hey, it's me, Kevin. Calm down, Emma. Why you? Emma glared at Kevin. Raising her other short sword, she once again swung her short sword towards Kevin. Hey! Kevin shouted as he took a step back. Summoning his sword, he quickly deflected Emma's attack. Clank! Die. Isn't that a bit too harsh? After the first attack, Emma did not stop. Raising her other short sword, she relentlessly slashed in Kevin's direction. Clank! Clank! The sound of metal colliding reverberated across the training ground. This is what you get for scaring me. Emma's attacks did not slow down. In fact, with each passing second, they increased in power and frequency. Calmly deflecting Emma's attacks, Kevin laughed out loud. I'm sorry. As the night passed, the sound of metal colliding continued to echo across the training ground. Only after Kevin and Emma were too exhausted to continue did the sound stop. All right. All that's left now is to prepare for the upcoming event. After I got off the call from Kevin, I fell into deep thought. To summarize our conversation, the monolith was going to attack, and the only way we could stop it was by directly breaking the portals that they were setting up in the middle of the dome. For that, I needed to make preparations. Without a doubt, I'm bringing you. Taking the red book that sat in my drawer in the corner of my room, I placed it on my main desk. Since Kevin was present, the book was a must-have. What else? My brows furrowed. After musing for a bit, opening up my phone, I ordered a couple of things from the web. Because I had stored enough food and water to last me a long time, I didn't need to worry about that. Plus, the battle royale was going to last at most 1 week. So I had plenty of food. That's about it, right? Double-checking everything and making sure that nothing was missing, I nodded my head. Twang! Suddenly my phone rang. It was a message. Opening my phone and staring at the message, a smile appeared on my face. So you finally changed your mind? Friday. With all the side matches coming to an end, and the second years also finished with their battle royales, it was time for the last event to begin. The first year's battle royale. The event that was most looked forward to at the moment. That was because this match was crucial in determining who would be the winner between the Locke and Theodora Academy. The whole world's attention was on this game. Would the Locke retain their undefeated record, or would Theodora Academy finally break it? Everyone was eagerly anticipating the results of this match. Attention! As it was the last day of the week, the viewership on the TV channels was at an all-time high. The 1,500 first-year students went to the dome in the Locke, and everyone was currently waiting with their group. It's time for us to check your storage devices. As soon as the instructors made sure that everyone was present, they started inspecting everyone's storage devices. It took about 10 minutes for my turn to come. Entering a small room, an instructor did a quick scan over my body as I handed him my bracelet. I apologize in advance. Go ahead. Slowly, the instructor took everything out of my storage device. Because there was a lot of stuff, it took a couple of minutes to get everything out. This is quite a lot of stuff. The instructor muttered. Snacks, water dispensers, tents, potions, pretty much anything that I could think of I brought. Since we don't get penalized for bringing more stuff, it doesn't hurt to be extra prepared. Fair. The instructor nodded his head. Taking out a small device, he traced it over all of the equipment before sending me back. It'll be over soon. Please have some patience. Sure. The check took a total of 2 minutes before everything was okay. All right, you're good. You may enter the dome. Thank you. Putting everything back into my bracelet, I thanked the instructor and walked through another door that was connected to the dome. It's truly unfortunate. As luck would have it, we were allowed to bring out our own dimensional spaces and weapons. This was so that the bigger academies wouldn't fall into too much of a disadvantage when fighting against the other academies that would team up with each other. Regrettably, because of these checks, I couldn't bring Angelica with me. The device that the instructor just used measured for anything that contained demonic energy or was explosive in nature. This was obviously put in place to prevent any incidents from happening. Although Angelica could hide her demonic energy with her skills, bringing her would be extremely risky. I didn't want to take that risk. You're done? Waiting at the entrance of the dome was Kevin. Jean was behind him. You guys too? Yup. That's good. You nervous? Kevin suddenly asked. Sort of. I gave Kevin a meaningful look. The nervousness didn't stem from the Battle Royale game, but from what was about to come. Our current plan was to split up as soon as we entered the game to directly find the portals and break them. Because Kevin had already told me the location of where I needed to go, I knew exactly what to do. So all that was left was for me to wait for the Battle Royale to start. The exam will begin shortly. Half an hour after meeting up with Jean and Kevin, an instructor came out to brief us quickly on the rules. Since most of you have watched the 2 previous Battle Royales that had taken place, I will make this short. Last team standing wins. No time limit, and you may use as much force as possible. At the examiner's last words, the place became noisy. Now, calm down everyone. The only reason I'm telling you that it's okay to go all out is because installed in your suits is a small defensive mechanism. Once you experience a blow that will kill you, it will activate and create a small shield that can withstand the impact of a ranked warrior. However, the instructor suddenly paused and the air froze. The shield will only activate once, and once it does you will be rendered immobile. From there you will be a sitting duck. To all the contestants present, once a contestant is taken down, you are not allowed to touch them. If you do, that will be an instant disqualification. At the instructor's words, everyone nodded their heads. This was fair and more realistic since everyone would be able to fight with all they got. Good. For those that are eliminated, an instructor will later come to pick you up and escort you out of the premises. That should be it for the rules. May the best team win. Once the instructor finished explaining the rules, heavy tension descended on the waiting area. Everyone kept a fair distance from each other. Beep. Marking the beginning of the trial was the all-too-familiar beeping sound that I had been hearing since the start of the tournament. Rumble. Rumble. the large metallic overhang doors that connected to the dome slowly opened up, revealing a dense forest-like environment. Not long after, the students slowly made their way into the premises. "Let's go." "Sure." Following Kevin from behind, and with Jean next to me, we soon entered the dome. Right before we entered, my eyes interlocked with Kevin's. We had approximately 30 minutes at our disposal. During that time, the contestants weren't allowed to attack each other. And in that given time, Kevin and I would do our best to stop whatever incident was about to happen. Chapter 248, Battle Royale 1. Where is it? 15 minutes had passed since I had entered the dome, and I was now alone. Right after entering the dome, we all split up. Kevin, Jean, and I all went our separate ways. Nothing needed to be said about Kevin and I since we had something to do, but Jean just naturally left. In all fairness, as an assassin, Jean thrived in this kind of environment, so being with a team was useless to him. It would only give away his location. We probably look like fools to the audience. Moving forwards, a bitter smile appeared on my face. This was a given though. In a team game, the first thing we did was split up. This became especially worrisome to the spectators supporting the lock, as everyone knew that the lower-end academies tended to team up together. In short, we looked like the third years. Their result? A humiliating loss. To the audience, we probably looked like arrogant pricks overconfident in our strength. But I honestly couldn't care less. I had different priorities. What did the tournament matter if everyone died? VRRRRRR. VRRRRRR. Ren, how far are you from the location? My watch suddenly rang. It was Kevin. Raising my wrist towards my mouth, I softly whispered, "I'm almost there." Following the map that everyone was given at the beginning of the game, I was able to navigate my way towards the location Kevin told me to go to a couple of hours ago. According to him, that was the place where the portal devices were going to be installed. That's good, I'm almost there too. All that's left is finding the portal itself. Easier said than done. Even though we knew the approximate location of the portals, unlike Kevin, I didn't have a system that would help me detect the exact location of the portal. Kevin had it, so as long as he knew the general location it was in, he'd be able to find it. Fortunately, I wasn't completely helpless. After all, there was bound to be a couple of individuals setting it up. All I had to do was find them. Ren, I'm hanging up. I think I've got something. Sure. Disconnecting my call with Kevin, I increased my pace. Navigating through the dense vegetation, my pace slowed down significantly. Let's not be too obvious. Realistically speaking, the portal should be protected by at least 4 individuals. If I was too brazen about my appearance, I'd lose the element of surprise and be at a disadvantage. Even though I was confident in my strength, 4 individuals were a lot. Couldn't just brazenly show up without any preparations. It may end up costly. What are these idiots doing? Inside of the lock private waiting room, a high-pitched voice sounded across the space. Why are they separating from the very beginning? Don't they have a brain? Like a machine gun, Emma venomously spat at the TV screen in front of her. Besides her was Amanda. Though she said nothing, Amanda agreed with everything she was saying. Damn it, what are they doing? Did everything that I told them before the match go to deaf ear? On the other hand, not far from them, Melissa similarly cursed. Prior to when the match started, she briefed Ren, Jean, and Kevin on the strategy that they should have followed in the Battle Royale to secure first place. But they had completely ignored whatever she had said to them. As though her words went from one ear to the other, the trio separated and did the exact same thing she told them not to do. This irritated her to no end. Just wait till I get my hands on you. Melissa spat as she clenched on the side of the sofa. Their performances were currently being displayed on national television. Everyone was watching. As their assigned technical advisor, her face and name was plastered on the same screen as theirs. If they ended up losing, part of the blame would fall on her. The more she thought about it, the greater her anger rose. Just you fucking wait. Masking my presence as much as I could, I stood on top of a tree and observed 5 individuals ahead of me. 2 E ranks and 3 ranks? Although faint, the undulations of magic emanating from the bodies of the students before me suggested that they were around that rank. This is going to be tough. Although I wasn't 100% sure, there was a high chance that these people before me were the ones I was looking for. My deduction stemmed from the fact that they were in the area that Kevin had told me to observe and that they were behaving suspiciously, staying within the same perimeter for an extended period longer than 5 minutes, and having one of the 5 individuals sitting on the ground in the middle pretending to fiddle with the dirt. There was definitely something going on. Let's observe a little bit more. That being said, I still wasn't 100% sure about their involvement. Before they made a proper move, I would stay here and keep a good watch over them. Even so, I was already starting to make preparations. VRRRRR. VRRRRR. Startling me a little bit, my watch vibrated. Twisting my wrist lightly, I answered the call. Yes. I then brought the watch near my mouth. Are you ready? I've found the portal and the targets. Kevin seemed to be in a similar situation to mine, as his voice was very soft. I think I've also found them. Tell me where the portal is. If the scenario was the same, then the portal should also be in a similar position as his. MHM. My targets are 4 individuals. They seem to be roaming randomly, but they don't seem to be straying far from a certain location, and I've also found that they are around rank to rank in strength. Kevin briefly paused before continuing. They also all seem to come from a lower-end academy. The strangest thing is their rank. It shouldn't be possible for such a low-end academy to have such talented individuals. They are individuals that even the lock would want. This makes me think that it's them. No. Who am I kidding? It's them. Nodding my head, my eyes squinted slightly. I've got something similar, 5 individuals though. Guess I've got the short end of the stick. He got 4 whilst I got 5. What a pain. He sucks for you. At my reply, Kevin's voice became slightly sarcastic. My brows knit. You taunting me? No. There was a short pause before he replied. My mouth twitched as a result. You seriously mocking me in the middle of a serious operation? Since when did Kevin joke in such serious situations? Wasn't he supposed to be the serious type of MC? Some rotten bastard was definitely influencing him. All right, I'm sorry. Anyways, the portal should be hidden beneath the ground. Right in the middle of all of the 5 individuals. At least that's from what I'm seeing right now. Kevin apologized before explaining to me his situation. You sure? Positive. Is your situation the same?
Yeah.
You making a move? No. I'm making preparations. There are 4 people, so I can't afford to be sloppy. I'm setting everything up for an ambush. Clever. Blindly fighting against 4 individuals with unknown backgrounds was stupid. Taking the initiative and doing a surprise attack was the most efficient way to win against a group of people. All right. I'm about to start. You should too.
Yeah.
Kevin soon ended the call. Lowering my wrist, I quickly took out a few things from my bracelet. I guess I should get started as WELO. D. Suddenly my watch vibrated. A glaring red notification clogged the screen of my watch. You may now engage with the other participants. Staring at the message, the edges of my lips twisted upward. Talk about perfect timing. Thud. Jumping down the tree, I stealthily moved forward. Moving behind one of the individuals, my feet abruptly stopped. At this point, I stopped breathing and fully focused on the individual before me. Let's start with one of the strongest. Click. Placing my hand on the sheath of the sword, the all too familiar clicking sound resounded across the area. Thud. A small thud accompanied the clicking sound as the individual I targeted fell face first on the ground. Right at the moment my sword was about to hit his head, a small protective shield formed around him, saving his life. The impact still caused him to pass out. Although the shield saved his life, it did not reduce the force of the attack. What? Who's there? The sound did not go unnoticed as everyone turned their heads in my direction. Already expecting this, dashing forward, I headed towards the person in the middle. The other ranked individual. Of course, the three other people wouldn't just let me attack their most important member. Taking out their weapons, they all instantly dashed towards me. Staring at them, my eyes slowly turned gray as I commanded. Stay. Instantly everyone stopped. GHHH, what? KHHH. Stop him. As if their bodies could not listen to them, they all took a step back terrified. They could only helplessly watch as I neared my target. Gyek. Dropping everything he was doing, the individual that was setting up the portal took out his weapon and dashed in my direction. Watching him come at me, my feet abruptly stopped. Though confused, the individual before me slashed in my direction. Shaw. Staring at the incoming blade, I raised my right hand and snapped my fingers. Snap. Hyuk. A strange noise escaped the individual's mouth as his body stopped moving. Taking advantage of this gap, I infused my fist with thick mana and swung it towards his chin. Thud. Face first, he fell on the floor. He was knocked out cold. Raising my sword, I stabbed in the direction of his heart. Right as my sword was about to stab him in the heart, a small protective shield formed around him like the previous individual. My purpose in doing this was to activate the special function of the suit. The paralyzing effect. Once the target was presumed by the system as dead, it would paralyze the user's body until a professor brought them out. Shaw. 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 With no time to catch my breath, coming from all sides was the sound of multiple sharp objects cutting through the wind.
Ugh.
Bending down and dodging one of the attacks, I drew a quick circle in the air. A translucent ring appeared before me. Go. Once the ring formed, I pushed it to the side. What's going on? Who? Clenching my fist, the two remaining attacks headed in my direction magically changed direction. Ring of Vindication, second move, gravitational pull. Bam! Kua! Taking advantage of the opening created, I lunged forward and punched one of the three students straight in the guts. My fist soon connected with his stomach, and a small shockwave swept the area. Thud! Kneeling on the ground, saliva spilled everywhere. Raising my leg, I kicked him the individual I hit in the face and directly knocked him out. Raising my sword, I once again aimed for the heart. Thunk! Another one down. After getting rid of another individual, I turned around. At the moment, the two other individuals were still busy trying to free themselves from the ring. With their ranks being lower and my strength being a full rank higher than theirs, the rest of the fight was as good as done. Click! Click! Placing my hand on the sheath of my sword, 2 clicking sounds resounded across the area. Thud. Thud. With 2 more thuds, I finally got rid of the last remaining individuals. Hoo. A long extended exhale escaped from my lips. My breathing was a little rugged. All right, let's get this over with. Pretending to act calm, I casually walked towards the spot I presumed the teleportation device was located. My goal was to accidentally find the portal device before showing it to one of the cameras overlooking the event. This was the most logical and fastest plan Kevin and I came up with. The plan was for either me or Kevin to expose the device to one of the cameras that was broadcasting the event. From there, the instructors would immediately know what was going on and shut the event down. Thus,
Ha.
standing on top of the spot where one of the students was, with my hands on my knees, I pretended to catch my breath. Oof, I better sit do. Not bad, but where are the other 2? Who? Startling me was a cold voice coming from my right side. Shaw. At the same time the voice spoke, I felt a cold metal object graze past my face. Not letting my guard down since the beginning, I was able to dodge the attack. Just barely though. Drip. Drip. Tracing my thumb over my cheek and staring at the blood on my finger, I lifted my head slightly. My eyes narrowed. Aaron.